welcoming everybody back to another episode of Carmen's Crew Podcast. And of course, always appreciation to the people over at New Amendment for making all this possible. I really never thought I'd be in the podcast realm, but I can't say it. I am happy to be here with you guys, and I'm appreciating all of this and really excited about it moving forward. So we're going to get in to the beginning of the week. That was heartbreaking to start, but we finished it off pretty good. We're just going to dive in and say that we dropped the ball with the Nebraska loss. Kraft, I'll go to you. I mean, I don't think you didn't play them, right? They weren't there yet.
Okay. I'm not that old, my friend.
Okay, my bad.
Sure
okay.
Did.
I didn't play them, so I'm that old. So that just gets back on me.
Yes, you are old. But,
from your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, so as we get into the X's and O's here with these games, I will say playing in Nebraska was never like an easy thing. I always felt like you never really thought of Nebraska as a basketball school, but I feel like the support was always pretty good. You never it's hard-ish to get up for that game because it's like we're going to Nebraska and all these things, but it was kind of harder to play there. But, watching the game, I had multiple people texting me on the side saying, this looks like a high school game. Like both sides, like both sides, right? Like both sides, it just looked bad. Like no one was really playing super well, especially in the first half. It was such an ugly game. And I think as the second half kind of got going, people started loosening up, but it still just didn't look great. We never really looked comfortable. I felt like our energy was okay, but we just never looked like we were in a rhythm or comfortable at all. And then you know how it is. Like if you're playing at a place on the road and you keep it close and they get going, like it's so much harder down the stretch to make the plays you need to make. And again, we were right there, right? Like a couple plays here, a couple plays there. But I got to give them credit. Like they made the big plays when they needed to, and we just didn't.
And that game, being in that arena, it felt like the Rutgers game in some ways. Like you started off and Ohio State's defense was actually doing some pretty good things and, forcing some tough shots. They didn't start out by giving up like a 10-0 run. Like it was just 0-0 for like 3-4 minutes. You're like, is anybody going to make a bucket? And I felt like watching that happen at Rutgers and then watching that happen at Nebraska, I felt that like there's something that they are working through right now. And it feels like you are like the streak and all the struggles seem to be weighing on them at that point. And that's actually something Chris Holtmann said this week, was that he felt that they look like a heavy hearted team when he went back and rewatched that Nebraska game, because they just didn't have like the energy. And I think if they had made one of those early layups in that Nebraska game, it very well, it could have flipped on a single bucket. But it was like they'd get to a really good spot and then just miss a point blank layup. And I felt like you saw the collective buildup of the last 5 games really take them down in that game. And that was what then made it just so tough for them to try to dig out of. It was as much in their head as it was anything else at that point to me.
It's a tough one. I mean, we're one of the top offensive teams in the country, coming into January. And like you look at the games and try to figure out like what is going on. Well, we scored 9 or 10 points in the first 9 or 10 minutes of the first half versus Nebraska, and you see Justice getting to his spots. You see Bryce getting good looks, and each miss is just like heavier and heavier and heavier on us, and like anxiety, like, oh my goodness, I hope we make the next one. And then, like you said, I mean, we've been playing this game for a long time. We know if you let a team get a little bit of confidence and you're on the road and, they stick around, and then, it's anybody's game. And I mean, you got to give Nebraska credit. They showed up when they needed to and came out with a good victory. Yeah. But for us, it's just demoralizing, man.
I do have like a coach's question for y'all. Like, so at the end of the game, right, it's whatever it was like a 2-point game or maybe a 1-point game, and we have to foul.
I already know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Why was Bryce in the game?
Okay.
And he's not even a defender.
So you know what I mean? Like he had the 4 fouls after a timeout. We have to foul. I was just really confused as to why he was in the game after he just made the big, he's obviously going to be the guy to take the next shot for us. and Sean was close, but anyone have thoughts on like why he was in the game?
That was one of the first things I asked Chris Holtman after the game. I said, "What can you explain to me the thought process there and why you go into a decision like that?" And he was pretty direct. He just said he was worried. He thought they needed Bryce's offense, and he was worried there would be a situation where there'd be a scramble, or they would need him on the court and they wouldn't be able to get him on the court, or they, I do believe they had timeouts. I think they had at least one timeout. So I think they could have stopped the clock. Okay. So they did have a timeout, but that was the thought process, was that they said they needed him on the court for his offense, and they were worried that a situation would present itself where they wouldn't be able to get him on the court. So whether that is an acceptable answer or not, I guess is certainly, we can all have our feelings on that, but that was the answer I was given.
We're going to tell you, Adam, no. That one is a direct no. You can go back, even North Carolina game. I mean, you can go back to early in the Nebraska game, him overhelping, giving up the corner three, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like that situation, we have a timeout for sure. You got to get them out and, get your best defenders in. So, I mean, it happens in the heat of the moment of games. Everybody's not going to be perfect. Players make mistakes and coaches as well. But like you said, we still got a great look off and almost rattled in for us. But, that's how the basketball guys work sometimes. I don't think we deserve that win. So for us, like you said, it's just heartbreaking to continue to see that happen over and over and over again for us.
Did you guys see the stat that I dug up at the end of that game? This absolutely blew my mind. But I'm sitting there inside Pinnacle Bank Arena, and I'm looking at this losing streak and going, all right, 5 losses by 19 points, 5 losses all by single digits. I start going, when's the last time Ohio State lost 5 straight games by single digits? And I start going through the media guide, start going through year by year. Never.
Oh,
Ohio State has never lost 5 straight games by single digits. Yikes. I mean, and you go back, Jim O'Brien's first year, they lost 17 straight. But it was like every third or fourth game, they'd get blown out. They'd get run out of the gym. They'd lose by 20 to somebody. And I thought that stat to me said, like, you are really, really not that far off. But at the same time, you are a million miles away because you're right there. And that actually made no sense there. I don't know what I was trying to say, but like, you were right. That blows my mind. I had a very hard time processing that stat and trying to make sense of it. What do you guys make of a stat like that?
It's almost better if you get blasted.
I wonder.
Exactly.
I wonder
we
about
know
that.
It's in and out. We out of there. But that's why I'm saying, like, going to each game, that's just more anxiety. It's funny that you say that because I'm literally in the same predicament right now with my team over here in France. We've been going through some struggles closing out games. So every time I watch the Buckeyes, it's like deja vu, and I get a little
a little PTSD
sick
over there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll be shaking like, oh, not again. But I mean, you got to keep playing. You got to hoop. Literally, like Crash said, when those situations come around, you got to go back to what you've been doing all your life. Be comfortable and being you. And I think these are things that we kind of foreseen, coming into the season with the new group that we had.
Yeah,
it's just a little heartbreaking to actually see it, happen. Yeah. But we're so close. We're right there. What I say last episode, 2 episodes ago, we're taking on water, but we didn't sink yet. Yeah. It's not over, man. We definitely have a good chance to keep going.
It's like one of those things where going into the season, you're kind of like expect these things to happen, but we played pretty well, in the non-conference. So you just felt like it was all behind us and we were just going to take off. But now
especially how we started versus Northwestern.
Exactly.
That game in January. So I'm like, we're turning the corner.
It's slowly catching up to us, but we ended the week on some positive notes, though.
This is true. This is definitely true. We ended the week on a great note versus a good Iowa team, who as well is going to be a tournament team. I would ask Sully his thoughts. He's not here with us today, but we're going to hold it down for him. And I know he's excited and happy about that win that we had. And I just like the complete turnaround. It was a 180, literally just in the energy and the aggressiveness on both ends. And I give Coach Holtman, a lot of credit on switching up the lineups.
Ooh,
Adam, I give you that one. How he started the game. What was your thoughts on that one? Or did he say anything on like why he chose to take Justice out of the starting lineup?
So it's sort of a two-part answer. The main justification that he gave was that they wanted Isaac Likely to be able to guard Chris Murray. And so that was the stated reason post-game for putting Ice in the lineup and having Justice come off the bench. But what sort of went unstated, and we did talk about this today, was that Justice has been going through it. We've seen it, and I feel like it made a lot of sense to get, if you're going to bench your sixth-year two-time captain who is so important to what you do, if you're going to bring him off the bench, like this was the moment to do it. And he responded to it in what seemed like a pretty positive manner. I mean, he came in, he wasn't forcing things. He still didn't knock down as many outside shots as they would like him to, but he seemed a little bit just more sure of himself. Like he wasn't, I felt like this is the first time in a good 2 weeks I haven't felt like Justice Ewing was carrying the weight of every single bad play on his shoulders. He just looked,
I'll give you that.
He looked more like himself.
A relief.
Yeah. And he didn't feel like he had to be the guy. And some of that was that, I mean, Bryce had his most prolific, efficient
Bryce was that
game, and Ice almost had a triple-double. So, like, he had help, which obviously helps, but he just seemed more relaxed. And I thought it made a lot of sense to bring him off the bench. And we'll see. That could stick for a little while, I feel like.
Man, it was, I mean, if you look at games that you're kind of hoping to get back on the right track, Iowa was probably one of the better ones because we know they like to score and maybe not the greatest defensively. So, and with a team like us that was kind of struggling offensively to put the ball in the basket, to have someone that wasn't going to make it extremely difficult like Rutgers or things like that. So this was a great game. I think our guys, they did responded tremendously. I think, like you just mentioned, Coach Holtman taking that step and just completely shaking up that starting lineup that way. I think that took a lot of guts. Like, it's not an easy thing to do by taking, your two-time captain out. But obviously Ice, I feel like everyone should be talking about Ice after this game.
Give him a crash. Give him, yes. Round of applause.
Standing ovation. And we were kind of talking on the side. No way we can expect 18 a game from our man Ice. But the way that he was controlling the game, the way he picked the right places to attack and press, and he was making the right reads. Like that's what this team was missing, to be honest. So, love seeing it, love the energy that we were showing. And obviously it always helps when the ball goes in, everything flows, right? Everything's looking great. Curious to see how Bruce responds to what happens, what moving forward though.
That was going to be my follow-up to what you were saying there, because the other sort of unintended benefit, I suppose, is that Bruce played 14:38. I think it was his lowest amount of playing time in a game this season. And when we talk about this streak and all these close losses and guys just not quite looking like themselves, he's right at the top of that list. He has looked worn down. He's looked not quite the same player that he was a month ago. And this game and Ice playing like this allowed them to rest him a little bit. And, you guys can speak to the grind of going through the league for the first time and playing maybe more than you thought or more than you had expected. But it seems clear that he's dealing with a bit of a fatigue issue. And I think letting Ice having a game like that and being able to rest Bruce as long as they did, maybe that pays some dividends now at Illinois on Tuesday.
I was going to say, that would be more of a craft aspect for sure, with the amount of minutes that he played, as a freshman. For me, our team was totally different, my freshman year. So we had a cheat code and how we handled things. But
we would have beat y'all.
No, that's for another episode. We'll talk about that.
We would have got after y'all.
It would have been a great game, but we'll talk about that later. But no, definitely. I mean, we've asked him to do so much for us. It's only right that, it's a heavy load. And with the team that we have, we needed this. We need everyone to step up. Like, this was our vision. Everyone being able to, attack. Everyone being able to give something to the team on offense and defense. So I just like the collective group of how everybody was, available. It wasn't just, all right, our sensational freshmen, hi, keep giving them the ball. Everybody still was aggressive. And I think that's what we're going to need more of if we want to be a great team, finishing out the season. And literally, my boy, Mr. Roddy Gill, give him his round of applause too. Give him his flowers. Just the energy, the impact, and him making plays and being all over the floor as well as ice. This is what we expected of him. Like you said, probably not 18 points a game, but just even him being aggressive and missing shots, it still makes the defense be honest. Like they have to worry about him. And it gives other guys, opportunities to, get open looks or maybe a drive because he's been aggressive and, offensive rebounds and putbacks as well. But I just like the flow that we had on both ends. So I'm hoping that we can get a lot more of this, as the season goes on, especially this big week that we got coming up.
Yeah. Couple thoughts. One, I definitely taught Roddy that double pump. We talked about that this summer. We worked on that.
Your last dunk was on a canceled game on an aircraft carrier.
But I was up there though. Don't trip.
I don't think you taught him that one, but
it's true.
I like it when you was drinking that.
That was impressive. That was nice. The other thought, I think the way, like having Ice play well, having Roddy play well, like on both sides, Felix continues to play well. What I really like, another thing I think we need to talk about with those guys playing well offensively is like, we don't have to choose an offensive and a defensive lineup.
Yeah.
Because if you look, like our best defensive squad is Ice and Roddy and Felix and, throw Justice in there, maybe Bruce. But if early on, if we put that group out there, we were kind of saying, who's gonna score? Who's gonna get us in the offense? But if those guys can just continue to play confidently, then I feel better about, all right, we can put a squad out there that are going to get aggressive on defense, but also like not completely give up all our offensive prowess. So I like seeing that. And when it comes to Bruce, like, I don't know, my situation freshman year was honestly, it was different. I think what he's doing is harder because one, I came off the bench. So every game I got to sit there for 4 minutes and like relax. Let me see how the ref's going to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me calm down before and let me go in and do my thing. He's coming in every game with the weight on his shoulders saying, all right, we need you to run this team without 4 seniors that have played in the NCAA tournament and know what it takes to win. So I agree. I think, what we're expecting of him is not easy. But I also think he came to Ohio State because he's a great player, and that's what he should expect. So I'm not giving him a pass, but I am giving him I understand, let's keep getting better kind of vibe. I can't give him it'll get better soon, my guy. But
they're players. That's what they want, man. You got to be built for this. That's how it goes. That's literally why you come to Ohio State to be a Buckeye. So it'll be a good one for him.
Sorry, Dave.
No, you're good. You're good.
It was interesting too when we talked to Holtman today. He said that, or it was today or after the game. But I asked about like how much during this losing streak have you put stuff on your captains? How much have you leaned on those guys? Because they've talked about extra meetings and needing the veterans that they have to play like veterans. And he said they had like an extra meeting with the captains like the day before the game, and they've really talked to Justice, Ice, and Zed about being those leaders, being those captains for the team. But he also mentioned they've started to include Bruce in those conversations. So to the point, Aaron, that you just said about like all the stuff they're kind of putting on his shoulders, like he's also taking on like a significant like locker room leadership type of role.
Leadership role. Yeah.
And that's, I think, when we talk about why this team could potentially be playing really good basketball here in another month, and why this was always maybe set up to be a season where there would be pockets like this where they struggle, but they got things figured out by the end, like the leadership and things that they're learning right now. I think there's still time for that to pay off. You're not even halfway through a Big Ten slate at this point, which is
another great thing
good and
for us.
Good and bad.
Another great thing for us is literally all the teams playing like we are.
Struggle.
They're giving you a great week, then a bad week, a good game, then a bad game. Everyone except Purdue, which is winning all the close games. So, like you said, it's not over. You got to keep fighting. And I definitely love that, including him in that role. Because when you're point guard, is in line and in tune with everyone else, that just gives you that much more confidence and motivation in going out and leading, on the court. And I give Kraft a lot of kudos for that one. But he was just a smart little quarterback kid.
Just don't turn the ball over, man.
Who was perfect to just make sure you give me the ball, Sully the ball.
You're right. I'm not angry at you, bro. Like,
for sure,
I'm telling you, I had the easiest job in the world freshman year.
No.
Just don't turn the ball over.
Purdue, though. Don't forget that. You showed a little action on this one.
You like the spin move, bro.
Yeah. Oh, you remember?
Hey.
For sure.
Oh, I remember the spin move. I remember
exactly. Coming all screaming that interview, man. You got to get it going.
No, I like it.
We're going to talk about this next week coming up. What's the scouting report on this big week coming up for us? 2 away game versus a hot Illinois team, I'll say, who's been winning lately. And then they got Indiana on the road. So starting off with Illinois, Adam, what's your feeling on the first, I think, real tough atmosphere like this that we're going to face for the Big Ten?
Well, I don't know what to make of Illinois, and frankly, I think that probably applies to most of the league. But
that's good and bad.
I mean, like you just said, team that's been playing well. I mean, they had won 4 straight and looked pretty decent doing it. But then Indiana just went there and blew the doors off of them.
Yeah,
and some of that's just Trace Jackson Davis is playing at an unbelievable
high level right now.
And he just was the best player in the country on that night. But the thing that interests me is when you look at like some of these guys on Illinois and like some of the like length and talent that they have on the wings, it's not apples to apples, but like Chris Murray was obviously what made Iowa's offense run, and so much of their game plan revolved around him. And we saw what Ice did on him for most of the game. I mean, he had 22 points, but it took him like 19 shots. He didn't really look comfortable. He never took over the game.
Big difference.
And that's why I'm sitting here thinking, if you played Ice as a starter to try to neutralize Murray, do you stick with that going forward? And does he draw that Terrence Shannon matchup? Can he help against they've got some really good bigs who aren't traditional bigs. So is Ice strong enough, big enough to maybe match up with a Dane Danger for a little while? It might be a bit of a stretch, but I think like Ice getting his confidence back and playing the way that he did against Iowa and looking like the player he was at Oklahoma State, that could be low-key the most important thing for this team going into this week, because they're going to need that kind of toughness and versatility and grit and all those things that he brings to try to go to Illinois and Indiana and come home with some wins.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois was one of the harder places for me to win when we were in school. We did it my freshman year, but I don't think I won there again. One of the years Brandon Paul went off for 40. Another year they had Myers Leonard, and he earned some money off Sully that game. So it's definitely not an easy place to go. And who knows, right? Like at this point, we're not really sure which Ohio State team is going to show up. We're not sure how we're going to handle adversity that kind of comes at us throughout the game. But, from building off of last game, we finally saw the ball going in a little easier. We had multiple guys kind of contribute. So hopefully that takes pressure off of, guys that were really feeling it. But it's going to take a complete game, right? Like we're beyond the point in the season where we can hope to play for 30 minutes and come out with a win. So it's going to require us to kind of really stay focused for 40 minutes and see if we can build some momentum, because this is a week that I think we can win. I think we can win these games, but these are also 2 games that we could very easily lose and have lost, 7 out of 8. So to fight against that, that sounds rough, doesn't it?
That's a rough January, rough month for sure.
So we can win, but it's gonna take us playing well, and I think we can. I hope we can.
Yeah. For me, I mean, you got Mr. Shannon, of course, who's Mr. Attack Mode all game long, so that's going to be a task in itself. But for me, if we can, just allow him to do what he's going to do, because we know he's going to be aggressive and kind of control everyone else, then I think we got a good shot of winning the game, long as we have everyone involved like we did the last game versus Iowa at home. So I will say I really never had a lot of problems at Illinois. Shout out to my guy, Trent Meacham. Great guy. Love him to death. He's my teammate over here. I'm not sure if he looked at the podcast, but he'll be at the game. So, Adam, if you see Trent Meacham, tell him Dave Lighty said we're going to get our annual Starbucks bet going for this game.
Okay.
But if we can control, which I think is the key, is Hawkins, the forward, who is a pretty much do-it-all guy, literally, who can, pass, rebound, and make plays as well. So I think if we control him, I think that gives us a great shot of going on a roll and getting a big win, which I think we kind of another must win for us if we want to, see ourselves literally in the top half of the Big Ten standings.
Going into this game, another stat I want your guys' reaction to. This is something that I was working on this.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I was writing a Bryce Sensabaugh story for the Dispatch for Monday morning, and I'm sitting there Sunday night, and I start putting some things together, and then I start looking at it, I was like, all right, so he was the leading scorer against Iowa, and I start going back, and I was like, he's led Ohio State now in scoring in 10 straight games. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So who's the last Ohio State freshman to lead the team in scoring for 10 straight games? So I start going back, and it's like, was it D'Angelo Russell? Well, it turns out no, it was like 5 or 6 for him. Then you go back like, all right, well, was it Sully? Wasn't Sully.
No.
Go back further. Was it Odin or Conley? Or so much balance on those teams. It wasn't any one guy. And then it's like, well, was it, Michael Redd? Michael Redd did it for 9 straight games, but he never did it for 10. And then I keep going back. Nobody's done it before. He's the first.
Oh my goodness!
So
they're just doing it all this year.
It's breaking records out here.
These stats on this season are just insane. And I lost like an hour of my Sunday night. I thought I had this story all set up, and then I start digging, and I'm going further and further back, and I'm just going, oh my! I'm digging through box scores that you can barely read.
John Lucas in there. Huh?
Well. You go back far enough, and the freshman can't, and the freshman couldn't play. So
you
there's
Hondo. Oh yeah, exactly. You're right.
So there's that,
right.
but like I suddenly start thinking about that, and it obviously tells you Bryce is an exceptionally talented, gifted scorer, but I don't know if you want your freshman to be your leading scorer. Like that sounds like you're relying on him at such a high level, and I didn't think this team would rely on one player quite as much, and maybe that's just more a result of Justice going through a slump and Zed being hurt and. Go down the list. But to me, that's a stat you can't have continue if you want to have long-term success. What do you guys think?
Most definitely. For me, that was a division of the team. I did envision him, being the 1 or 2 top scorers of the team, but not like this, like you said. We're asking so much from a freshman, but we need everyone to be successful for this team to hopefully make a push in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament as well. Like I said earlier, my vision was last game, everybody being involved, the ball moving, everyone getting touches and being able to get to their spots and being aggressive and him, making plays when we needed it. But I will say, that is just crazy. That's fire. I'll give you that one. Yeah. Give you a round of applause for that. That's amazing.
I never dunked the ball. I had 18 against Gibsonburg one night in my varsity career. That's a good night, Adam. That's it for me. So night, me finding a stat like that is probably maybe comparable to hit. I don't know.
Where'd you go to high school, Adam?
Northwood High School up near Toledo.
Northwood. All right.
We weren't
that is crazy.
No.
But hey, he has done it efficiently. He has done it efficiently. Yeah. So I'll give him that. Literally at all facets, all 3 levels. So. That's another amazing feat, literally, for a freshman to be doing in the Big Ten at that.
I am 1-0 against Villa Angela St. Joe, but
cheated us. State championship. My guy's still hurt.
They did call a whack tech on your dude. He dunked it on us.
Hanging on the rim.
This thing hung on the rim. He did not hang on the rim. That is a crazy stat, but I'm wondering, I think it's great. It shows. It kind of tells you Bryce is an awesome player, but I think you're right. The more that continues, I think the more it weighs on him, right? The more he thinks if no one else is going to get it going, I have to get it going. And I think that's when we've seen Bryce struggle a little bit this year is when he's forcing a little bit, kind of feeling like he has to get it. But he's been really good when he's like in the rhythm of the offense and taking the good shots. Like last game was a perfect example. He played under control.
Mm-hmm.
He took what the defense gave him, and obviously he was super efficient. So that's again, just I love doing this. Just to hear awesome stats all.
That is amazing though. All right, so we got the Indiana game to close out the week. What stat you got for us for this one, Adam? I think we all know what we need to do in stopping and who we need to stop and key on this one. And it's always rocking in Assembly Hall. So any stats for this game, Adam, or what's your thoughts?
It's too far away.
Not yet. Yeah.
Okay. One at a time. You're right. You're right.
We'll let that one slide. Obviously I think this is a big game for our bigs. Obviously, Trace Jackson Davis is playing out of his mind right now. Which is kind of what you expected kind of coming into the season. He got hurt and now he's kind of getting back into shape.
Flow.
So can our bigs stay out of foul trouble? Can they make it difficult on him? Because Zed, I think, has done a great job, but Zed and Felix have had games where they've gotten into easy, quick foul trouble. And then when that happens, we're just scrambling, right? We got Eugene out there trying to guard five.
We're literally just trying anything.
We're just throwing guys out there. So can they stay out of foul trouble? But then can they also attack them on the other end? It's easy offensively if you're not having to work too hard defensively. But I think Zed makes you work down the other end. So let's see, can we get him moving and get him maybe a little fatigued on that end, or get him in foul trouble? Yeah. Let's attack him. Let's see.
I like it, Coach. That's a great strategy, I believe, because he's been putting up numbers historic for the Big Ten this past week. I think I saw a stat. He had like 60-something points. What was it? 30-something rebounds, maybe 20-something assists, and 10 or something blocks or something like that. It was the first time ever or something like that in the Big Ten for the week. So, I mean,
Dave,
for us,
Dave,
we're going to have to be ready.
Stats are Adam's thing, man.
I'm trying to stay up to his level. That's all it is. Like, literally, I got to try something. And I saw this off of Twitter, so.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about, Dave, because I saw the same tweet. This is from a statistician named Jared Burson, who is like awesome.
You're coming for a job.
But he's averaging 19.4 points, 10.1 rebounds, 3.5 blocks, 3.5 assists, 3.1 blocks. The last D1 player to average a double-double, 3 assists, and 3 blocks for a full season was Tim Duncan in his 96-97 Wooden winning campaign. So that's the level.
Great company.
That's the level of season that TJD is putting together right now.
That's how you do it, Dave.
I mean, this is why Adam's here. I told you, I'm still working on myself.
I'm just happy to be here.
That's wild. That is wild. Man, he's got it going, right? And he's at home.
Yeah.
We know that place gets crazy. Feels like everyone's on top of you because the stadium goes like directly up. Man, those Indiana fans are a little rowdy.
Oh, not little. They'll be crazy in there.
Slightly mean too. I'm not gonna lie. Those fans over there, they got a little vulgar in my time while playing.
Yeah, it happens. It's supposed to be. I like shutting the crowd up and walking out with a smile on my face. That's what makes me happy. But
that is true.
I'm gonna go with a prediction of us going 1-1 this week, and I think we get Illinois, but I think we struggle with Indiana. So we get one win. I'm happy either way. So I give you crap. What you got going?
Yeah, I hate coming into a week saying it's a win if we go 1-1.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm all about winning, for sure.
Every fiber of my being hates that, but I think that's probably where we are right now. I would love to be shocked and surprised, but I think we go 1-1.
A little motivation for the team, that's all.
And then we move forward, yeah.
Yeah, I think 1-1 is the most likely outcome for this week because I don't think they're as bad as that 5-game losing streak. And I've just kind of felt as this progressed that eventually that offense would start to score again and some guys would find some confidence again. They weren't going to go, 2-18 in the Big Ten this year. Like at some point they were going to start winning some games. And I felt like if they could get a shot of game one confidence, that might propel them to a streak. It's hard for me to sit here and think we're going to be here talking here next week and they're going to be on a 3-game winning streak getting ready to host Wisconsin or whoever's next. But I mean, I do think that, most likely 1-1, but I don't know. there's probably a scenario you can write where they do win them both.
If we come back next week with 2 wins, I give both of you guys Starbucks. So let's hope that happens.
I'm listening.
Hey, Dave is really against us this week.
Let's hope that happens. But
don't even drink coffee.
I'm a tea man. It's okay. Chai tea with a little soy milk. But it's cool, man. We're gonna get to the word on campus. I think we all know the word on campus is we got to get these wins next week. But we're gonna go to the other side of basketball and shout out to the number 2 team in the nation, the Ohio State Buckeyes women's basketball team, having a big game right now versus Iowa, which is number 10. And I just love the way they play. I think you guys have got a better chance to see them more than me. But just watching highlights, it's been amazing. I literally love the energy that they come with and the swagger that they have. So hopefully they continue the success. But any tips from watching them that you think our guys need to take? What you got, Kraft?
No, like you said, they play hard. They play a different style than us. Like they're kind of get in your face, press, kind of make you play fast. So they force a lot of turnovers, which help. But honestly, I think the biggest thing we could learn from them thus far is they've been super tough, man. They've had a lot of adversity come their way. They're currently playing without their 2 starting, like their starting point guard and their backup point guard, who are both all Big Ten players, both hurt, and they've still found a way to win. So they're next person up, next woman up, and they've just gone forward and done what they needed to do, and found a way to close out games late. So it's just been a lot of fun to watch. And I know they're struggling a little bit right now. Iowa's really good. Caitlin Clark's is really good. And there's just there's like another girl on their team averaging 18 that no one's talking about because Caitlin Clark averages like 20. So, but yeah, just shout out to them. Like they're holding it down for the sporting program at Ohio State right now.
Just looked it up. That we're down 10 right now with 5 minutes to go in the third. So they got time. 19-0 though, man. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adam, what you think about watching them?
Say the way they pressure. I mean, yeah, they're down 10 with a couple minutes to go in the third, but there's no doubt in my mind that team could force like 3 turnovers in the span of about 45 seconds and get some dunks or get some layups or some threes.
Oh, I'm with the dunks, man.
All of a sudden, they flip that back. I mean, they play with such an incredible pace and tenacity that it's a lot of fun to watch, and it feels like a special season.
All right, for sure, I'm with that. So we're gonna send them all the good vibes, all the good vibrations, and love and support. Win or lose, they're still gonna be a great season going forward for them, and for us, we're gonna we'll see what happens with our Buckeyes next week. Hopefully they can get the job done. And I really hope I'm giving you guys Starbucks. But to sign off, we're going to talk about it. Anything you guys got something to talk about on this little sign off action? Anybody know about the sports betting going on and all that stuff? How do they come up with this stuff? I'll say this one. How do they come up with the lines and how do they know? Because every time
why are they exact?
It's so close. Like this literally baffled me. I know nothing about sports betting, so I probably never get into it. But I don't understand how they understand and know like the points or the spreads and how it all works. Like, what is the magic going into this formula? Does anybody know?
I know KenPom.com and the stats that are on there and what they project, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about how the rest of that stuff works. That is a whole like ecosystem that has never. I don't make much money, and I don't want to risk what I have. So like
smart man.
Hey,
Like,
high risk, high reward. That's
I mean, I'm
life,
like,
man, you got to go for the gusto.
I'm like, if I got
15-leg parlays, I'd be seeing for $5.
If I got $20, I want to go buy like a new record. And I'll have that and I'll enjoy that forever rather than like throw in the ether and maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't. Like I'll take the record as opposed to like just risking it. That's just how I'm wired.
It's amazing how you can get super into it. Like there are parlays and like the amount of things that you can gamble on is
everything. Literally like jump
it's
balls,
too much for
first
me,
basket.
Yeah.
Who's going to make 2 assists or 3 threes? It's crazy. That's America for you. As long as I hope it helps Ohio. But we're gonna sign off. Appreciate y'all coming in with us on this episode. Let's say next episode. On this episode, there'll be more for us, and keep rooting on our Buckeyes and keep showing us love. Make sure y'all subscribe and all that stuff. Click on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube, and what else is it? It's another one. And support everybody else, even the other guys on Big Ten and beyond. Appreciate y'all, man. We'll give it y'all next week.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.